Welcome back on the show. Time now for us to dig into the papers, and we have good company this morning. A political science lecturer and the director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, joins the conversation. Doc, I see you. Good morning.
Good morning, Ben. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Hope you're well.
I'm very well.
We bless the Lord. Let's get into the papers, and a lot of the stories I'd like us to take a look at are in here, starting with the Daily Graphic. Mixed reactions greet new utility tariffs. Public wants government to intervene. Then PAC chides a sports authority boss over duties. And at 74th New Year School, take lead role in after Vice President challenges Ghanaian enterprises. When you go to page 5, the international page, President Obiang's son arrested for corruption. I'm talking about Equatorial Guinea. And a search is underway for 50 women abducted in Burkina Faso. On the back page, Bost donates 100,000 exercise books to school children, and pastor businessman caged 8 years for fraud. Let's start with that story on page 13, shall we, about the new utility prices. And it says the announcement by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission that tariffs are to go up effective February the 1st is being kicked against by a section of the general public who say it will worsen an already difficult situation, as generally the prices of goods and services have gone up. Now, people expressed worry that the proposed increment would affect their budgets, which had already been impacted by an increment in VAT and other taxes. A section of the public, the Daily Graphic spoke to across the country, made up of small business owners and traders, expressed reservations about the latest increases in utility tariffs, saying it would impact them negatively as the new tariffs would invariably affect their budget. They have therefore called on the government to, as a matter of urgency, consider the plight of most Ghanaians and intervene by directing the PURC to rescind its decision. Doc, so today, my colleague Bernice Abubedu-Lanta will be out there hitting the streets, interacting with ordinary folk, some of whom watch our show, others who don't. But we'll be interacting with them, finding out what their reactions are to this development. And it's also been said that on the back of the latest COLA agreement, if you like, 30% giving to public sector workers, and then this increment, 20-something% for electricity, over 8% for water. In fact, almost 30% for electricity. It is simply going to erode what gains they would have made in the public sector. But again, we all know that you can't necessarily, someone's salary with a 30% increment may not necessarily reflect in an increment in electricity or water in terms of the real numbers. But what is your take on this increment at this time?
It's a difficult one. Why am I saying this? If you look at the condition we find ourselves, we are not in good times at all. Economy, we are struggling to maintain. We are struggling to, put body and soul together. Standard of living, very tough for everybody. So it's a bit worrying. I don't know how people are going to survive with this type of increment. But let's also look at it this way. Things are going up. Are we saying that utilities also don't use resources to produce power, and then the things that we depend on? It's a difficult situation, but my view is that I know the practice has been that they always involve stakeholders. What was the position of stakeholders in this? Did they involve them, and did they accept this thing? That is the crux of the matter. I believe that the stakeholders must look at it again. And then, if there's going to be an adjustment, it shouldn't be that much that will really affect the very survival of people. Otherwise, you are going to have difficulties, like the way it has started, people have started talking about it. But I know the utility players themselves are worried about the situation. But can they help out of this situation? I think stakeholders can help us out.
Well, we'll see how that goes. A few pages ahead on page 20, we have that other story. And it says, PAC chides Sports Authority boss over duties. And the emotions and controversy controversies actually surrounding sports transcended the field again yesterday when the Director General of the National Sports Authority, Professor Peter Chumesi, was taken to task over his handling of a number of issues at the NSA, including the poor handling of national stadia for social events. Before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament sitting yesterday, Professor Chumesi was drilled for what appeared to be the appearing before the committee unprepared when the Ministry of Youth and Sports and the agencies under it appeared before the committee. First, the committee took a serious exception to Professor Chumesi's inability to furnish them with current documentation on the case involving the interdiction of a staff of the NSA when the same issue was dealt with last year. The committee also expressed concern for what appeared to be a poor working relationship the DG, that is the Director General, had with his sector minister and advised him to address same. Of course, the committee was chaired by Dr. James Kluchaveji, the Member of Parliament for Ketu North, and it was to consider the report of the Auditor General on the public accounts of Ghana's ministries, departments and agencies for the year ended December 31st, 2022. But a bit of what Prof had to say, he assured the committee that the field would be covered anytime a social event was taking place. He was referring to one of our stadia. When asked whether the NSA had materials for covering the field, he also responded in the affirmative. He explained that the NSA used what it had, but when the chairperson put it to him that the field was not covered during the National Democratic Congress event last year, that is the Accra Sports Stadium, Professor Chumesi said, per the agreement, the setup was to be on the AstroTurf. So that has to do with PAC sitting in Parliament and, as we know, ministries, departments and agencies being taken on. But in addition to this, what would be your reflection on sports? At the start of the year, we reflected on many things, including sports. And some of the leaders we spoke to cried foul about logistical support, about, look at the Theodora Oko hockey pitch now in Accra. What do you make of this, and what do you make of sports in general in our country? Is there a downturn, do you think? Even at Chan, things are not going so well for us.
I think we have to admit that we have a problem with regard to sports. We have seen failures in a number of respects. We go play tournaments and there are problems. We come back, shove it under the carpet and move on. The next time, the same problem resurfaces and it comes to what? Hunters and all that. Look at the issue we're talking about, the issue of our maintenance of our stadia. That's a worrying situation. I remember when President Kufuor put in his all to make sure that we got the stadia in place to host the African Cup of Nations and all that. And today we are talking about maintenance of this all-important project, which taxpayers' money have been used to build. I mean, this culture that we don't want to maintain things that we spend money in. It's not the best. If we really want to save ourselves from, policies such as going to the IMF, policies such as what, depriving ourselves of our very livelihood because we have, some of these are attitudinal problems, then the time has come for us to rise up to the occasion and then maintain the things that we put resources in. It's as simple as that. It tells you that those who are at the helm of affairs, there is something wrong with that. They are not getting their acts together. But I always ask myself, are people drawing salaries based on these things? I think supervision is a problem because if you have a supervisor who goes around to check the level of things, how they have deteriorated or otherwise, you would have known that there is always the need to improve your lot. So I think first you need to get the leaders to admit that there is a problem and then work towards finding a solution to that problem. Part of the solution is that we need a maintenance culture that should be sustained at all times. And then people who work there must also develop that habit that this property is ours. We are not working for government, we are working for ourselves. Once we develop that sense of responsibility, we defend and protect all the properties that we have. Look at the Constitution. It gives us the power that wherever we work, we should make a conscious effort to protect public property. Why are we in the state when we have that provision that tells us that we have a duty and of course, a duty of responsibility to our state.
And tied to that, we want a coach who can deliver. That's according to Sports Minister Mustafa Yusuf. And he has given a firm assurance that a new Black Stars coach will be appointed as early as possible to handle Ghana's 2023 Africa Cup of Nations, that is the AFCON qualifiers, in March. Now, asked whether the coach being considered was local or foreign, the minister said what the country needed was a very competent coach who would deliver according to the expectations of Ghanaians. And in a related story, the deputy minister has tasked the Galaxies to beat Sudan. That is Evans Bobie Opoku. And of course, that is our next match. If we don't get a result in there, it could be catastrophic in the CHAN tournament. Any quick reactions to that before we talk about the New Year's?
Let me come in on the issue of the coach. We have had this problem always. And it appears to me that we have no clue at all as to how to handle it. We've gone for foreign coaches. We've gone for local coaches, thrown all of them away and all that. Players, tied to the issue of coaches as players, do you make use of international, those who play outside the country or local? But I realized that there is something basic that is eluding us, right? How we'll be able to figure out the problem and deal with it. Look at the top football teams all over the world. It is a constant effort to make sure that they set their eyes on somebody to become a coach, that person always giving the resource, giving the training and all that. Do we give resources to our coaches to perform? Do we interfere in the work that they do? Do we, give them the free hand to operate? So it doesn't matter whoever you bring on board, that problem is going to caught up with him and he will not perform. More so, do we have a team that goes out to look for a coach that will be able to deliver what is expected of him? Always there's a politics associated with that. Somebody must go in for somebody that you can control and all that. I think we need a body neutral from all those players within the sports ministry that will select the best coach for us. A coach that will be able to know our problems, address them head on. And then a coach that is firm and then determined to win us laurels all the time. We don't need a coach that can be pushed around, and always that's been our bane. Tied to the coaching, sometimes we lack players. This World Cup, we're saying that we don't have great strikers and all that. Then I asked myself, when I was a little boy growing up, I saw football played at the district level, regional level, national level, and there they hunt for talent. What has happened to that? We had even university academicals, right? Scholars who are great players. They draft them into the national team. We have the military who have great sportsmen. What have come of us that we can make use of those talents within the security setup who can help in playing the national team and all that. If you look at the story of Eto, he was picked from these processes from the local group and then developed to the highest.
You're talking of Samuel Eto.
Yes,
right.
Yes. He was picked from the local groups and then developed. We can Abedi Pele and Co. People identify them from the coast and all that. So what has happened? Always what will help this country, we shy away from that. And I'm sorry to say that if we are not able to deal with this, I'm afraid we will look for foreign coach, we will look for whoever. So far as we have interference, so far as we have less resources for them, so far as that, always we want to push them to the periphery of their work. I'm afraid we are not going to get results. This year, I believe that we want to be blunt, brutally frank with holders of political power. That, look, they need to do things and do things right. Because when all these things fail, we're heading forward towards IMF World Bank, which you and I don't want to go.
Let's wrap with that story in the Daily Graphic. At 74th New Year School, take lead role in AFTA. Vice President challenges Ghanaian enterprises. And the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has charged empowered Ghanaian enterprises to be frontline actors of the new journey in the economic history of the continent under the African Continental Free Trade Area. He said the government was fully committed to the implementation of AFTA and would assist the process by fashioning and implementing a comprehensive set of policies that would empower the private sector to achieve its goal. Dr. Bawumia was speaking at the opening of the 74th Annual New Year School and Conference at the Great Hall of the University of Ghana in Accra yesterday. And he said AFTA would provide a new impetus and dynamism for the rapid growth of African economies and deepen the integration process. I'm sure you followed bits and pieces of this, and we also heard from the Secretary General of AFTA in a virtual address. I'm talking about Wamkele Mene, and he said a number of operational instruments such as the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, non-tariff barrier tools, and AFTA Adjustment Fund had been developed to lower trade barriers and promote regional economic integration. But that's exactly what I want us to focus on. Regional integration. Even look at our sub-regional integration. Look at ECOWAS. Look at how it has fared. Look at AU and the problems on the continent, and whether it has not been a toothless bulldog in dealing with most of them. But you even try to cross over from one of our countries to another, even here in West Africa, and it's not that easy. It's not that fluid, business-wise and all that. Are we making the most of AFTA?
Oh, no, we are not. But this is a fine opportunity for us to build our enterprises and then develop our individual countries' economies. But here you are. We have not been able to do that simply because the enabling environment doesn't exist. All right. When you are crossing from one country to other, look at the hustle and tussle you go through. If you are looking at even money transfer, all right, not easy. I was a reporter when President Kufuor was in office. We visited La Côte d'Ivoire, and they were talking about a single currency that was going to come in no time. We are here. Where is that project? All right. It has fizzled out, and then we don't see anything. The issue is that we need strong leaders who will look beyond their countries and see the light ahead and will be able to drag everybody or pull us along. Those leaders, we are here to have them. Leaders who will be able to come up with policies that will drive this all-important program to fruition. We need also a group of people who will support these efforts and all that. But here you are, a whole mix of factors are militating against our development. Look at the sub-region. We have even coup d'etats threatening the stability of these countries. Not only that, we have terrorist programs also in stage, affecting or undermining the sovereignty of states and all that. Above all, we have leaders who are careless and mismanaging the economies, and then it doesn't even whet the appetite of people to go into entrepreneurship and create businesses that will take advantage of all this. And then you have leaders who are bereft of ideas that will move these beautiful programs into fruition. So always we have what? Problems affecting integration, problems affecting common market, problems that affect the very survival of individuals. And then we shy away from this and move into other jurisdictions in search for all these opportunities. They are here. If we are able to create the enabling environment, it will work for us.
It will not work. Let's take a look at the Ghanaian Times newspaper very quickly. Some of the stories we've already looked at, but interesting add-on to the story about, getting a coach who can do the job. Nationality won't count in selection of new Black Stars coach. That's according to the sports minister, Mustafa Yusuf. Nationality won't count. At the last World Cup, interestingly, we had all African coaches for the African teams. Does this mean that this time round we could have a foreign coach once again? We know that Kwesi Appiah has expressed interest in getting the nod if he was given the opportunity. But would a local coach be considered one more time?
But does it matter what brochure said? I mean, does it matter who becomes the coach? We need somebody who can deliver what is expected of him as a coach, but not the color of your skin and all that.
Right.
If all that we need is a human being who is competent enough to lead that, group of players to victory, that's all.
Let's also look at this. Couple takes 37 military hospital to task. Why? Because of an issue of a missing twin. That story is on page 14. I'm highlighting it because I've even had to deal with one of these issues in the past, and it is a very recurrent, rampant affair. So when a couple in Accra walked into the 37 military hospital maternity unit, they were expecting twins, but they were stunned to be handed a single baby after delivery. They are accusing the staff of the hospital of allegedly being responsible for the, quote, disappearance of one of the freshly born babies, supposed to be the other twin, delivered at the hospital. The delivery was done through cesarean section on Thursday, September the 8th, 2022. Now, a visibly distraught mother of the supposed twin, 38-year-old trader Audrey Japong, and her 54-year-old husband, Daniel Nau, are suspecting foul play. Narrating their ordeal to the Ghanaian Times in Accra, the couple recalled that an ultrasonic check done 31 weeks into the gestation period at two medical facilities disclosed that so including the 37 military hospital itself, showed that Ms. Japong was carrying two live fetuses, that is, twins. The Ghanaian Times' painstaking investigation suggested that the first scan report, which was signed off by Dr. Otu Dankwa, was conducted on April 22, 2022 at the Serica Diagnostic Services at Latebiokoshi in Accra when the pregnancy was 20 weeks. Its results showed live intrauterine, that is inside the uterus, fetuses. Furthermore, a second ultrasonic scan conducted at the 37 military hospital on July the 21st, 2022, and signed by Doctors M.T. Mpete and R. Asiedu, a resident and senior physician respectively, confirmed the results of the earlier scan, with twin A weighing 269 grams and twin B weighing 261 grams. I just had to take time to go through that story because, like I've said, we've heard of such instances in other medical facilities. And I really do not know how we're going to stem the tide of these developments. Some say sometimes these children are sold off. I mean, where it is indeed the truth. There was an instance where in one hospital, which name I will not mention, the couple involved said this had happened, and the hospital claimed, not in this issue, but in that issue, that the baby had been buried. Okay, produce the body, they could not. Your take, Doc.
It is becoming one too many in a number of health facilities in this country that we hear such gory tales of real human rights violations. I mean, it undermines the confidence that we have in such hospitals. So if this story is anything to go by, I think the authorities at the 37 must be interested in this and go into it and let us know the truth. Because we have heard stories. I sit here, I don't want to share my story about these things, all right? And it's a very sorry story that I don't want to go near. And that I believe, and we are challenging 37 to come out into and look into this and come and furnish the public with all the full details so that they can save their own image and the image of those who work there. Those who are the bad nuts working there to undermine the name of the hospital, all effort must be done to, take them out and then hand them over to the law, the legal processes. Because you hear, there was a time we had hospitals where human parts and all that, these things, then you ask yourself, do we have security people there? And it becomes more worrying when you have a military hospital where we believe is the epitome of discipline and all that. One is expected to have something more than what we are hearing. I think those in authority, if they are listening, they should listen with rapt attention. We demand answers to this, and we are not going to sit down for these things to go on. Otherwise, when people decide not to go for antenatal and postnatal, would you blame them? Then government policy has failed in that direction. And I think that this is the time that all of us must rise up to the occasion and deal with these matters using the legal approved routes, and so that we can, stem the tide. It's becoming too much, and it undermines the authority of the hospitals and all that. Let us remember that all those who work there are in cahoots or they undertake this type of illegal programs, but that the few bad nuts who exist there are doing this thing to undermine the authority of the cause. I think it is incumbent upon 37 to rise up to the occasion and then get into the matter and come and furnish us with the information that we want to hear.
Doc, we have some 2 minutes. Let's kill a few stones with those bits of time that we have. I'll do some stories from 3 newspapers, starting with Economy Times. Bank of Ghana likely to continue monetary tightening, and dollar supply to BDCs slashed. That is the bulk distribution companies. It has been slashed to $200 million for the first quarter of 2023 from $450 million during the same period in 2022. For January this year, the central bank would auction $80 million for the BDCs, while in February and March, it would auction $60 million each. In that same paper, analysts predict tougher times ahead for the economy and businesses, and they are saying that businesses looking to expand this year will face very severe challenges. According to a business analyst, David Ofosudote, while many businesses had not envisaged such a harsh economic terrain coming into the new year, the prevailing crisis means companies would have to adapt and probably shelve some of their plans in order to weather the storm. So we can look at that as one. Most of the stories in the Daily Guide we've seen in the past few days: Nana Wu's Abu Dhabi investors, Bank of Ghana allays gold for oil policy fears. But we can talk about I've not committed any crime. Kusi Boateng, I'm talking about Reverend Kusi Boateng. And of course, that issue, yesterday I had someone actually break down part of it to me. The fact that, it's kind of like when maybe your dad doesn't really take care of you. That kind of scenario. Not necessarily in his case, but maybe your mother doesn't give you that name for a while, and then later you decide you want to take on the name. I guess the only bit was the legal changes that may not have been done, but now it's resulted in issues, and it's before Shraj, so we'll leave Shraj to take care of that. Finally, the Chronicle: Sino Hydro abandons projects over IMF deal and lays off 304 workers on TADI, that is the Takoradi flyover, after paying them 3-month salaries. Quick take, and we're gone.
Yeah, Sino Hydro. They've started, we are not in IMF yet, but we have started seeing some of the effects of mismanagement of the economy, where it will lead us to. And one is through layoffs and all that. Growing up, I saw the impact of, SAP, Structural Adjustment Program, and the rest of it. So I always want to believe that our leaders must be very careful when they are handling the economy, and that when people see the dangers and they tell them, they must be humble enough to listen to them and be guided by that. Because once the economy begins to degenerate,
right,
or we head towards IMF, it doesn't bode well for anybody. Look at the difficulties that we have ourselves in. I listened to the former chairman of Parliamentary Select Committee on Finance,
right,
and the things he was talking about the economy and where we are heading towards. I couldn't sleep, because if that is the case, then we are in really difficult times. So I believe that holders of political power would take this lesson seriously,
right,
and then be guided by it, so that next time when giving opportunity to govern, they will govern and govern well.
Doc, so grateful for your time with us this morning, and wishing you the very best of the day. Thank you, Doc.
I wish you the same.
Dr. Kwame Asante is a political scientist at the University of Ghana. He is also director of the Center for European Studies at that university. Before we go, a very happy birthday from me, from Baby Ya, from Sister Vida, to Miriam Awojifa Vojogbe. Today is your birthday. May God engulf you in His goodness, blessings, and mercies, and may His grace always lead you to the path of greatness in everything you do. Happy birthday to you. Enjoy the day. And there's also to my own pal, Gladys Oredu. Today is your birthday as well. And to Ibrahim Ben Bako, my colleague here at the Multimedia Group. Happy birthday to all of you. Finally, this is from a colleague of mine, Samuel Mbura. It's a special birthday dedication to, you say, one of your favorite aunties, CEO of BOQ in Bolgatanga. You say, I pray for the Lord's mercies and favors as you achieve another milestone in your life. Auntie Janet, you shall continue to flourish in all you do. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to all of you. Right before we get into sports, it's the grand finale of the Ghana Science and Tech Explorer Prize Challenge. 50 schools from Greater Accra and the Ashanti regions are going to slug it out, and they are ready to showcase the prototype products aimed at solving societal changes. Which team will emerge winner of the G-Step Challenge? The finals will be held at the Accra International Conference Center. The date, Wednesday, the 25th of January, 2023, I beg your pardon. Time, 3 p.m. sharp. There'll also be an exhibition by our young ones as they seek to provide solutions to the myriad problems in our environment. So you make a date with us. Be a part of the first ever award ceremony to reward our future innovators and inventors. G-Step Challenge is organized by Dream Oval and supported by Foundation, Botner, and Joy Prime. On that innovative note, let's delve into sports.